Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Wendy Nickerson from the Nickerson Institute of Integrative Health Training. I am so pleased to bring to you today from South Africa, Monica Garnett, who is a recent graduate of our Integrative Mental Health Coach Training Program. Monica, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Wendy, for having me. Super excited to be here with you today.
You were such a great participant in the program. You brought so much to the program, especially things related to trauma. And I know that is a strong passion of yours. So let's get right into it. My first question is, have you had any experiences yourself with work history? What is your work history, Monica?
My work history, I was originally studied as a kinderkineticist. It's a field similar to pediatric occupational therapy. In that time, I further specialized in something called vision therapy, which is basically considered physiotherapy for your eyes. So working on weak eye muscle control. So tracking, copying off the board, inwards and outward turning eyes. So treatment for that. So I've had 3 years work experience of that in South Africa and then 10 years in Dubai in the UAE.
What a nice change of cultural experiences too that you've been exposed to. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Have you had any challenges yourself dealing with mental health issues or physical issues?
I'd say I suffered from complex PTSD through early childhood trauma. So from a first-hand experience, I know how difficult mental health can be at times. And that led me to develop a people-pleasing coping mechanism, which often led me to burnout in my career and relationships. So mental health has been close on my personal journey. Yes.
Isn't it amazing when we experience challenges ourselves? It kind of puts us on a path where we want to use these challenges to help others as we help ourselves. You know, there's a saying, something along the lines of the last part of healing is when you use your pain to help others. And that's when you know you're on the last legs of your own healing. So kudos to you. Kudos to you, Monica, for going on this journey. So I'm curious why you're interested in integrative mental health coaching. What sparked that interest for you?
I suppose with all my years working in pediatrics, I got close to working with families, and I was working very much with the physical symptoms with children, but then still putting them back into the same environment, same parents, same limiting beliefs. So not getting that long-lasting results with clients. So I went into integrative mental health to start getting at the core. If we can start working on these things sooner, that will be less transferable to our children as we adults and expand our own families.
So you were so smart to want to address these issues in young people rather than waiting to things escalated into adulthood or adolescence or adulthood, which would make it a more challenging journey back to mental health and wellness. I think that is just such a good approach. You're on it. You're on it, Monica.
Thank you.
So you kind of wanted to change careers a bit and expand upon your present healthcare position is the impression I'm getting.
Yes, I definitely wanted to expand to include mental health because it was a common theme that was presenting itself. And I wanted to have better tools to be able to meet my clients' needs.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, absolutely. So I'm interested in what aspects of integrative mental health have you found most interesting that has brought you to develop your own niche Niche.
I would say, I suppose, definitely drawn to trauma and understanding how it's been stored physically in the body and understanding that there are ways of releasing that. In conjunction with that as well, just understanding how important it is to understand our values and belief systems and how they can impact and trigger our traumas as well. So those are two main elements that I'm really excited about is combining, the somatic experiencing of releasing the physical trauma, but also working on the cognitive level as well, trying to merge those two marriages together to get best results for clients.
Oh, absolutely. And, I sometimes wonder myself if the only diagnosis 10 years from now in the DSM will be trauma-related disorder, because we know 99% of disorders in the DSM are the foundation is trauma. So I really think you're onto something. And for so many years, we've been trying to help people with trauma through talk therapy. And now, so I'm so glad we've come so far to realize now that trauma is stored in the body and it's a cellular thing and it needs to be released at that level.
Absolutely. I love that idea of yours, the DSM-5 act like, expanding to include it. I think it's definitely a missing link and things are evolving so much. So hopefully that is something for in the future for us to look forward to.
Yes. And so I have a fun game question for you, Monica.
Sure.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, let's say a 30-year-old woman comes to you because she can't sleep at night. She's anxious during the day. When you ask her about her childhood, she says, "Oh, it was normal for my environment, for my community." And then upon further questioning, you realize that she actually has a history of abuse, even though she doesn't realize it was abuse because it was normalized for her. And I know I'm only giving you limited information, but based on that information, Monica, what would you do with this client to help?
I would definitely try to explore a technique called brain spotting, which is a technique that we use to slowly visit trauma uh, from a safe place and just try to identify um, where these triggers may be and why it may, this anxiety and sleep, this is the symptom. Let's go a little deeper and through our bodies see in a safe way with that technique. So how that technique works is we create what we call a resource place where we resource a safe place. We see we look at it at our five senses. What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? And through that, if you can imagine a swing, we slowly swing into the uncomfortable experience back to the safe place and just slowly expanding that window of tolerance and seeing if we can slowly touch on that uncomfortable memory and at the same time reduce the sensation it's having on you. And with that, look at what that experience, what negative value or belief system it's resulted in you keeping, and seeing if we can change that. So I try to explain the brain spotting to the client and ensure the safety of how we can slowly move into it. And what's beautiful about this approach is it also has specific eye movements that it looks for the trapped trauma. So from a somatic physical way, we release the trauma at the same time processing that negative value to a positive cognition, so a positive value that they can move forward with. And I look at that as in a mindset coaching, so working with the trauma, but also changing that perception of the mind or what that experience, why you're holding on to that negative belief. Let's see if we can have a new perspective on it. So I would try to do that to lessen the anxiety and see if we can get to that core for that's triggering that anxiety and the sleep disorder in the client.
What a great way to combine the mind, the thoughts, and the body to merge those two together. The brain map, brain spotting, and the cognitive behavioral changes. Wow. I just find that very, very interesting. I like that you said the word slowly. You would slowly move them into the discomfort so that they could expand their level of tolerance to the memory or the feeling in their body. Wow. And why would it be slowly, Monica?
Well, as we know with trauma, when we revisit it with our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, you can have the same feelings. It can trigger those same feelings. And this is why we revisit it slowly in a safe manner, so that we don't re-traumatize ourselves. And we have to do it at the client's pace. If they keep revisiting the trauma, we measure it on a scale from 1 to 10, and it's at a 7. We want to bring it down to a 1 or 2 before we can then look at the logical cognitive part of reprocessing that memory. So we have to be cautious that we don't trigger that sympathetic nervous system, because we can't process in that heightened state of fight flight. So that's the reason why I like the pendulum of the swinging back and slowly into it until you can experience the experience without being triggered too much by it in order to reprocess it.
I can just imagine the life-changing effects that would have on people to be free from the trauma triggers. And I also want to mention to anyone who's watching this today that in the program, Monica provided a presentation on trauma release at TRE. And it was so well attended because it is such an important topic, releasing trauma out of our body. So if anyone is interested in this topic, I encourage you to Google TRE also in addition to brain spotting, to gain more information about what really needs to happen in order to make a difference. So thank you for that. That was so well received, your presentation. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
I am curious, what makes you a good mental health coach? Integrative health coach.
I would say, I suppose, from my personal experience, I'm able to harness a safe, compassionate, empathetic nature to hold a space for a client to share all of what needs to be treated. And I think through my own experience, I can relate. And as somebody that has quite a long career path of working with clients, I have fostered a nature of caring and supporting my clients in a way that helps them to feel comfortable to open up. And as well as like expanding the skill sets to include all areas. I think that's a strength that I have that I'll keep doing to have enough skill sets to provide for all my clients.
That's an excellent response to that question, Monica. And I can add to that too, that just your work in the program and your responses to how you would treat the different scenarios that are brought up in the assignments in the program were phenomenal. And it just indicated your extended and expansive understanding of the concepts. And not only that, the elegance of providing a safe space and holding space for clients. You certainly have a gift for that. So I want to make that very clear also. And it's clear during this interview, this podcast interview also. So just needed to say that.
Thank you.
Monica, with starting your own practice, now the work begins. How do you plan on growing your practice?
I suppose I would like to grow my practice in the direction that's in line with my values, because I feel if I govern it from that place, it's always going to be fruitful and beneficial to my clients. I want to ensure that I try to include a diverse set of elements and tools. I've realized, some clients don't really want to talk about it that much, and the somatic experience of releasing it in the body through the tension and trauma releasing exercises is actually more preferred for some clients. So I think just continuously to expand my skills, to ensure that I have multiple diverse areas for clients to explore to see what tool would work best for them. As a previous pediatric therapist, I think you have to have multiple tool sets in your hat to pull out, because every person is different and every situation is different. So I think the more as a therapist, I can expose myself to, the more tools I'll be able to have to support a diverse population of clients.
Yes, absolutely. And in growing your business, will you be using social media, um, a website, or how can people find you?
I'm actually will be starting with a health coaching platform in the UAE called Mind Tales. So I should be on that platform soon. So I think it's www.mindtales.me. I've also got my personal website that just has the information about me and all the lovely things I learned at the Nicholson Institute and additional courses that I've done. So there's a separate website to that, and I offer free consultation to meet one-on-one and see if it's a good fit before getting started, which I find is really helpful for clients, even just to understand what is brain spotting, what is this EMDR, what is these things that you have on your website, to understand, is that a tool that I'd be comfortable using in my treatment?
Yes, and Monica, you're located in South Africa. However, you do virtual sessions, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
majority of my sessions will be virtual.
So global. You are basically
Yeah,
global to anyone who
yeah,
is English speaking.
exactly. Yeah.
Monica, it has been my pleasure today. Is there anything else that you would like to add, though, before we go?
I would just like to say that, healing yourself enables you to heal others. So take the first step. It can be scary, but you'll never look back. And the one thing I can say from my personal experience is, I think I was walking through life with this backpack full of stones. And as I did my own mental health journey, it got lighter and lighter and lighter. And the lighter you are, the more space you have to grow into the most wonderful person that you are, that you could be. So yeah, be brave and take the first step.
You can become the best version of yourself. Absolutely. Monica, I want to thank you again. And for anybody who wants to reach out to Monica, please look for the websites in the bio. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you for having me. It's been a delight. Thanks, Wendy.
My pleasure.